What if I told you the most valuable thing in your city isn't gold or data, it's sand, and that someone recently stole an entire beach overnight? It sounds impossible, but the same tiny grains that built your home and power your smartphone are at the center of a massive hidden war. Let's follow the sand. It's the invisible foundation of our world, and it's fueling a criminal underworld you've never seen. Picture this. Jamaica, 2008. A developer is about to build a luxury resort on a beautiful white sand beach. One morning, they show up and the beach is gone. Not eroded, stolen. In its place, just mud and rock. Local reports said up to 500 truckloads of pristine sand were scooped up and hauled away in a single night. This wasn't a few guys with shovels. This was a professional heist, requiring a fleet of excavators and a convoy of dump trucks, all moving in the dark, all vanished by sunrise. Why would anyone steal sand? Because our world is addicted to it. And because it's the perfect crime. It's heavy, but it's easy to move. More importantly, it is almost impossible to trace. A truck full of sand has no serial numbers, no barcodes. Once it's dumped in a storage yard and mixed with other sand, its origin is gone forever. This isn't petty theft. This is industrial-scale larceny, feeding the insatiable hunger of the construction industry. Just how hungry are we? Every year, humanity uses between 40 and 50 billion tons of sand and gravel. That makes it the most extracted solid material on Earth by volume. We pull more sand from the ground than oil. So much, in fact, that it's enough to build a wall 27 meters high and 27 meters wide, all the way around the equator. Every single year. You don't see it because it's hiding in plain sight, locked away inside our streets, bridges, malls, and homes. Think about the concrete that builds our cities. We think of it as a high-tech material, but it's shockingly simple. 60 to 75% of it is just sand and gravel, what engineers call aggregate. The cement is only the glue, making up just 10 to 15%. Add some water, and you have the literal building block of civilization. A typical single-family house can contain around 200 tons of sand. Just 1 kilometer of a major highway can swallow 30,000 tons. But wait, aren't vast parts of the world covered in sand? Why not just use the desert? Here's the catch. Desert sand is the wrong shape. Millions of years of wind erosion have tumbled the grains until they're round and smooth, like microscopic marbles. For concrete to be strong, it needs sand with sharp, angular edges that can interlock and create a stable structure. Round grains just slide past each other, creating weak concrete. That's why a desert nation like the United Arab Emirates, home to Dubai's iconic skyline, has had to import billions of dollars worth of construction sand. The right kind of sand comes from rivers, lakes, and coastlines, where the grinding force of water and rock creates those perfect, jagged grains. And that's the problem. We are mining these systems at a rate far faster than nature can possibly replenish them. A river might take 1,000 years to create a sandbar that a dredging operation can vacuum up in a few weeks. When the industrial speed bucket wins against geological time, the entire ecosystem breaks. Let's follow an illegal load. Under the cover of darkness, a small dredger with muffled pumps slides onto a river. A huge pipe sinks below the surface and begins to suck up a slurry of sand and water, turning the clear river cloudy for miles. On a dark riverbank, a wad of cash changes hands. A low, unmarked barge, filled to the brim, silently drifts away. By dawn, those same grains are sitting in a seemingly legitimate construction yard, ready to be washed and sold. Why does this illegal route pay so well? Because it bypasses everything. No permits, no royalties to the government, no environmental studies, no safety regulations. Legal sand has costs. Illegal sand just has the cost of fuel and a few bribes. Once it's mixed into the legitimate supply chain, a concrete plant buys it at a discount. By mid-morning, that stolen riverbed is inside the foundations of a skyscraper, its criminal origins completely erased. Now zoom out from a single truckload to a whole country. Since the 1960s, the city-state of Singapore has engineered one of the most astonishing expansions on Earth, increasing its total land area by over 20%. Changi Airport, the massive port, entire new housing districts, all built on land that didn't exist, created by pouring colossal amounts of sand into the sea. Between 1991 and 2013 alone, records suggest Singapore imported over 500 million tons of it. This expansion came at a cost to its neighbors. Indonesia, Malaysia, and Cambodia, once major suppliers, saw their own coastlines vanishing and their fisheries collapsing as entire islands were dredged away. They started imposing export bans, but the sand kept moving. Trade data from those years is full of strange gaps. Cambodia might report exporting a few $1 million worth of sand, while Singapore reports importing hundreds of millions of dollars worth from Cambodia. That massive discrepancy is the shadow economy at work. To see the true environmental price, look at the Mekong River in Southeast Asia. Studies estimate up to 50 million tons of sand are pulled from its lower basin every year. The riverbed is literally dropping, a process engineers call incision. As the bed deepens, the banks become unstable and collapse, taking homes, farms, and lives with them. This isn't a slow erosion, it's a catastrophic failure. And the downstream effects are even worse. Vietnam now warns that without alternatives, its domestic construction sand could be completely gone by the 2030s. That sand was supposed to travel all the way to the coast, replenishing the vast Mekong Delta. But it never arrives. Starved of its sediment, the delta is compacting, sinking, and shrinking, just as sea levels are rising. A place that has supported millions of people for centuries is now facing an existential threat. The two things are directly linked. The sand scooped out upstream is the sand that was supposed to save the delta downstream. Where there is this much money and illegality, there is violence. In India, powerful, organized criminal networks, the so-called sand mafias, control vast stretches of rivers. They are not just thugs, they are vertically integrated businesses with the power to bribe officials and silence opposition. In 2018, journalist Sandeep Sharma was mowed down and killed by a truck after exposing illegal mining. 6 years earlier, police officer Narendra Kumar met the same fate while trying to stop an illegal sand shipment. Even trying to stop it can backfire. In 2018, in the Gambia, villagers from Faraba Banta protested the environmental damage from local sand mining. The police response was brutal. They opened fire, killing 2 protesters. Outright bans, without strong enforcement and viable alternatives, can sometimes make the problem worse. They drive the entire industry underground, raising the price of black market sand and making the profits and the stakes even higher. So how do the massive legal projects get their sand? They use machines like the trailing suction hopper dredger. These are colossal ships, like the Cristobal Colon class, that drag a giant suction pipe along the seabed. They can vacuum up over 40,000 cubic meters of sand into their hull or hopper in a single trip. That's a volume equivalent to a freight train over a mile long, all inside one ship. To build new land, these ships perform a trick called rainbowing. Using GPS for pinpoint accuracy, the ship blasts the sand and water slurry out of a high-powered nozzle, creating a massive arc, a rainbow of sand that lands exactly where engineers planned it. This is how Dubai's famous Palm Jumeirah was built. It took around 94 million cubic meters of dredged sand, plus millions of tons of rock, to create that artificial coastline from scratch. And here's the biggest twist. The smartphone in your pocket is also made of sand, but it comes from a completely different universe. There are two sand worlds that never meet. One is the high-volume, low-purity world of construction aggregate, full of crime and environmental damage. The other is a low-volume, ultra-high-purity world of specialized geology that powers our entire digital age. Much of the world's high-purity silicon comes from a single, unassuming place, Spruce Pine, North Carolina. The geology here is unique. Magma cooled so slowly over millions of years that it formed huge, nearly perfect quartz crystals. Miners extract this quartz, which is then refined to over 99.99% pure silica. That material is the foundation for the silicon in every microchip and the flawless glass in every strand of fiber optic cable. Even the glass screen on your phone started as sand. It's a special recipe, an aluminosilicate glass, but its main ingredient is still silica. So the screen you tap and the skyscraper you walk past share a common ancestor. But one required brute force and astronomical volumes, while the other demanded absolute purity. Same element, two completely different worlds of cost, scale, and consequence. So can we stop chewing up our rivers and coasts? There are options, but no easy fixes. We can crush rock to create manufactured sand, or M-sand. We can recycle old concrete, grinding it down to be used as aggregate again. Smarter building codes and designs can also drastically reduce the amount of concrete needed for a project. But each of these has a catch. Crushing rock is energy-intensive. Recycling concrete is complex. You have to clean out all the rebar and contaminants. We can also manage our sediment systems more intelligently. Dams are notorious for trapping the sand that coasts desperately need. Building sediment bypass channels can help move some of it downstream. Sand dredged to clear shipping lanes can be strategically placed on eroding beaches instead of being dumped out at sea. These are real solutions, but they require a huge shift in thinking. And they require us to start pricing sand for what it actually is, a finite and vital resource. And here's the final thought. We aren't technically running out of sand on planet Earth. We're running out of the right sand, in the right places, at a price that doesn't account for the destruction it causes. Every tap on your phone, every step on a sidewalk, is a vote cast in the world of sand. The moment we start treating it like the critical resource it is, the moment a beach stops being seen as a free pile of loot, is the moment we can build the future without stealing it from our rivers and coastlines.